Thank you for joining us today. My name is Casey Friedberg. We're excited to have you with us as we introduce one of the newest enhancements to the MDS Resident Portal, embedded renters insurance. So today's enhancement, it's about simplifying renters insurance management by giving property managers and owners greater visibility into insurance coverage, making it easier for residents to obtain insurance, and bringing the entire experience together within the MDS Resident Portal and Spire. Joining me today as presenters are Adam Friedberg, CEO of MDS, Stephen Cass, Senior Software Engineer at MDS, and our insurance partners from Sure, Justin and Harper. You'll also be seeing several members of MDS that you will recognize participating in the webinar. What we're going to be doing is we will be reviewing the resident portal, the general overview. Then we'll discuss why renters insurance matters, introduce the new embedded renters insurance enhancement. We'll walk through how it works, and we'll finish up with next steps and any questions. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Adam. He'll provide an overview of the MDS Resident Portal, highlight some of its key features, and explain how today's enhancement fits into the broader experience.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Casey. I'm excited to introduce this new feature of the Resident Portal in general. We know that we have some people that have never seen it before, and then we also have some people on here that are actually using it. I'm going to spend most of my time in actual live product. The Resident Portal is designed to be one-stop shopping to do everything that your residents might need to do. And the first thing around that is payments. Although you don't need to use it for payments, we knew that we wanted to build this as a rock-solid payment experience first and foremost. We're continuing to build it out, and right now we're also able to allow residents to make work order requests, to see the status of their different work orders. We can allow third-party investors to log in, to see portfolio dashboards, to receive report packages, things like that. You're able to distribute rent statements or regular billing statements through the portal to cut down on those calls that come into the office. People just want a copy of their bill. And then they're also able to update different contact information that you have complete control over in terms of what you'd like to make available to the residents on the portal for them to see, like which contact information you would like to allow them to be able to actually update. We're continuing to add to this, and the latest feature is embedded renters insurance, which we're going to spend most of our time on today. So with that, I will kick it over to Harper from Sure and allow her to take it away from here.
Thanks, Adam. I am a customer success manager here at Sure. We're really excited about the opportunity to be able to co-host this webinar with y'all. 4 things we wanted to talk through today about renters insurance. Whether you choose to require renters insurance across your portfolio is ultimately going to be your choice. In our partnership with MDS, we understand every owner and operator sets that policy differently. What I want to cover today is why a lot of experienced operators land on requiring it and how that decision can pay off. So the Sure team today is going to walk through 4 things, which will be what renters insurance actually covers, where your building policy might leave you exposed today, how the day-to-day management of insurance works, and then how Sure is making getting coverage really easy now that we're fully embedded into that MDS portal that you're all hopefully familiar with. Since you're all experienced property managers and owners, you likely already know that your renter's policy will protect the structure or the building, but what it doesn't cover is what is inside a residence unit. It also does not cover a resident's liability. What that means is if they cause damage or someone happens to get hurt and there's an injury inside of the unit, that's where the renter's insurance comes into play. The gap that we like to talk about and what's worth considering is whether it's a resident's belongings or their liability. Another great perk of the policy is temporary housing. So if the unit were to ever become unlivable, that would be covered under the renter's policy. To paint the picture, when a renter doesn't have that insurance, those gaps in coverage tend to sit on your side of the ledger instead of the resident's. The renter's policy is what helps move that risk away from you as the owner. So if you choose to require it, that really is the easy part. It's as simple as adding it to your lease. And now it's even easier to have your resident get coverage. Next, we'll talk a little bit about the ownership protection to round out the section on why renters insurance matters to you. I like to drive home the point that renters insurance isn't just something that's a nice to have for your tenant. It really protects you as an owner as well. There are a few ways that this shows up. First, on liability. If a resident's covered and something happens in their unit, the claim will go to their policy first instead of yours. What that means is fewer claims overall are eventually going to count against your coverage or your master policy. And that's what helps you to keep costs down. Second, we talk about damage recovery. When a resident's responsible for damage or anything related to something that might happen in the unit, you have an actual more established path to recover those repair costs rather than just absorbing them or having to chase it down yourself. Lastly, on move outs, when belongings and displacement are handled through the resident's policy directly, we tend to see less back and forth with your team overall, and most importantly, fewer disputes to resolve before you can turn the resident over for the unit to be moved in by a new resident. So the way I like to sum this up is renter's insurance isn't just a resident benefit, but a direct reduction in the cost and administrative work that could otherwise land on you. I'm going to be passing it over to Justin next, and he can walk through how Sure and MDS have embedded this to make it really easy.
Thanks, Harper. So the first thing we're seeing here is a lease that requires renter's insurance isn't the same thing as a resident actually having a policy in hand. It's easy to assume that once the requirement is written into the lease, the job is done. But requiring something and enforcing it are two different things, and that's the gap that Sure and MDS are looking to solve for those who need that gap solved currently. More than 40% of residents on leases that already require rental insurance in our historical customer base still have no coverage, even though it is required on their lease. That's a structural gap in how insurance requirements typically get enforced. And so when a resident causes water damage, a fire, a liability incident, and has no coverage, as Harper mentioned, that exposure doesn't just disappear. It flows back to the property and ultimately to the owner. And that is why this gap should matter to you specifically. Yes, it is ideal for residents to have coverage to maintain their liability, but ultimately we're looking to avoid having that liability eventually transferred to the owners and property managers in the case that those residents don't have renter's insurance. Even when there are property managers or owners who are looking to enforce renter's insurance for the residents, enforcing that can be very manual and difficult to do in an ongoing process. It usually means manually collecting proof of insurance, tracking which units are covered, chasing down renewals, following up residents who have let policies lapse. Even in some cases, we hear from some of our customers where a resident may sign up on month 1 with the proper coverage that's outlined in their lease, and on month 2, they just lower that to the lowest number so they can lower their monthly charge for renter's insurance. Managing that is very difficult for property managers and owners on an ongoing basis. That's real staff time spent on something that should be passive. The good news is this doesn't have to be manual. The ongoing chase is what Sure is helping solve for MDS's property managers and owners. Whether or not insurance is required in your leases today, there's a way to close this gap without adding to your team's workload. And that's exactly what this partnership was built to solve. Sure and MDS partnered to bring renter's insurance directly into the tools that you already use, the Resident Portal and Spire. There's no new system to log into, no separate vendor relationship for your residents or for you to manage. It's built into the experience that's already a part of your day-to-day. This was designed with two audiences at once. Owners and managers get real visibility into who's covered and who isn't at a glance, and residents get a fast, low-friction way to actually get insured instead of a requirement that they have to then figure out on their own. There are a few outcomes that we see typically with our customers. The first being higher insurance participation, less administrative work for your teams to manage, a better protection for owners, managers, and residents all in one, and then lower operational risk. Fewer gaps in coverage means fewer scenarios where the property is left holding the exposure. Adam, I'll transition over to you to take a live look at how it looks inside the resident portal.
Thanks, Justin. I'm going to spend most of my time looking at things from a resident's point of view. The key here is that it's all one-stop shopping within one system. You'll be able to administer this directly from Spire by logging in as you would normally, assuming that you have these permissions. So the first thing I'm going to do is get logged in as a tenant. And here we are. I am going to spend time on renter's insurance here, but it's pretty straightforward. I want to give a quick overview, and then we'll jump into the renter's insurance experience. The first thing that you're going to see is that you don't have to turn payments on, but the primary thought behind the portal was that the payment experience has to be a really positive one, make it easy for residents to see how much they owe, what their payment history is, and to make one-time and recurring payments. As soon as you log in, assuming payments is turned on, it makes it really simple. You just make a decision. Do you want to make a one-time payment? Do you want to schedule a recurring payment? Here's your balance due. Here's your different payment activity, which will include payments that have come in through both the portal and through your regular system, even if it didn't pass through the portal. It's a complete payment history because this is totally integrated with your core system of record, which is MDS. Other options that you can uncover for your residents would be the ability to do things like request a repair. If you have this turned on, residents will also be able to see a history of their maintenance requests. And then you could even chat back and forth with your property manager about specific work tickets directly from the portal. The idea being to bring everything into one single experience for both the resident and the manager. We've also included the ability for you to take your month's statements. So after you generate bills, you can upload them to the portal, making them available for download by the residents. When I click on that, it downloads the statement for me really quickly, making this one-stop shop for your residents so that you're avoiding phone calls that are coming into the office, whether it be self-service on your rent statement, self-service on your work order, maintenance, repairs, things like that. You're also able to distribute any kind of documents that you carry directly through the portal as well. If you want to see the house rules, there they are. You can easily upload anything you want on a portfolio level, on a building level, or on a specific unit level. Some other bells and whistles that we've added because we've been in the portal game for quite some time is that we know that some of your residents might have multiple units within your portfolio, and you don't want them to have to necessarily log in and out of one unit to log into the other. If those units are related to each other, a single resident will be able to jump across multiple units by logging in one single time. I do want to show one more thing, an investor view. So if you have a third-party investor that's not even a resident in your building at all, and you want to give them the ability to do things like download statements, you'll be able to do that. And that is my investor. With that said, let me jump into the new renter's insurance experience. This is a new feature that the resident has never clicked on. We're able to promote this to them in various ways. In addition to putting this new pill button on it, we can also put a splash screen up to try to foster the pickup when people actually log into this thing. I'm going to show you how easy this is for somebody to actually purchase coverage. The key is that after they purchase coverage, it's going to sync directly back into your system of record without having to do any kind of manual data entry. It just syncs in automatically. In addition to that, if somebody were to cancel their policy, it's going to update it in your system of record as well. All that is automated, and I'm going to show you that after I step through this experience really quick. We are populating as much information about the resident as we're able to. Most of this, we're trying to make it as easy as possible. I didn't have to do any manual data entry. We're just going to go ahead and click Get Started. It's telling me you're missing some information, so we're going to fill that in, and it's going to step me through the different policy options. We can limit what somebody is able to purchase here. As people make different changes to these things, it's going to dynamically change their quote on the fly. So you can add additional roommates. It's going to automatically pull you in as an interested party, which is what allows you to receive updates on any policy changes that might take place. So if somebody does cancel or somebody does reduce their coverage, you're going to be notified directly through your system of record, which is going to be MDS. You can change whatever you'd like, put in your payment information, and then purchase the policy. Once that happens, this information feeds directly into your MDS system. Let me hop over to the actual person that we were working with here, Adam Grant. I didn't actually put my credit card information in and purchase that policy, but if I had, the information for that policy would have automatically, immediately transferred over into this integrated renter's insurance field. So the expiration date, the policy number, the information to get in touch with Sure, should there be any kind of a claim. And the beauty of this is not so much that you have it there, but it's that you can actually work with it in a variety of different ways. I'm going to go over to my unit and occupant list. And as part of this integration, what we've done is we've added a filter so that you can see who doesn't have insurance, who has upcoming expiring insurance, who doesn't have any insurance on file at all these different things. I'm going to go ahead and say, let me see everybody that doesn't have any insurance on file at all. Most of my residents don't have any insurance on file. So the first thing that I'm going to do is send them all an email, right? Now, I'm showing you generic emailing abilities that exist within Spire, but this is super helpful when you're able to filter by all these different insurance requirement types. We just have some pre-formatted templates in here. So for instance, this is the renter's insurance introduction. We want to get this out to everybody. And we can see that all these different people would get this email. We're in a nice preview mode here. And included in this email is a quick link to be able to register and log into the portal for the first time. And if I was to click send now, all 20 recipients would receive this introductory email that is prompting them to log into the portal and purchase insurance for the first time. Once they do purchase that insurance, it would all flow directly back into your system. That is a detailed view of renter's insurance, but there is a lot more to show on the portal in general, and we'd be happy to go through this in more detail in one-on-one settings. The next big thing that we have coming out is the ability for your owners, for those of you that manage co-ops and condos, to be able to opt into paperless 1098s. So that would avoid the cost of printing and mailing those 1098s. The resident will be able to come in here and pick up their 1098 instead of you having to pay the cost of printing and mailing it to them. One more reason that the portal is a one-stop shopping tool that can ultimately save you time, money, and heartache.
All right. Thanks, Adam. Justin Harper, thank you for going through the insurance piece. What we've added here with the embedded renter's insurance is simple. It is easy to use. As we wrap this up, I want to share some things in terms of what happens next. So first, if you are already using the MDS Resident Portal, the good news is that embedded renter's insurance is already available for your rental portfolios. And as long as you're not self-hosted, which I know is the case for most of you on this call, we can have this enabled quickly for you. We'll be reaching out to coordinate the best approach for your portfolio, answer any questions, and help you get started with this new embedded renter's insurance feature and the insurance management. Once it's enabled, we'll provide live sessions, resident communication templates, as well as some best practices to help introduce the enhancement and maximize participation. So our goal is to make this implementation as simple and seamless as possible for you. And one more thing, there's no additional cost for this enhancement. Now, if you are currently self-hosted and you would like to learn more, we'd be happy to discuss your options and what it would take to get you started with this. We are extremely excited about this. We think there's a lot of value that this brings to you all, as well as your residents. And a reminder, for those of you already using the MDS Resident Portal, the embedded renter's insurance feature has already been enabled. Happy to walk you through that and assist you with it.